There is a silence we meet only twice each day, the threshold of sleep and the moment we awaken. Most pass through these gates unconsciously, unaware of the sacred chamber they are entering. But what if I told you this doorway, this delicate drift between waking and dreaming, is the very place where reality bends? What if you could plant a seed in that silence, and that seed would grow into your future? The truth is, your final thoughts before sleep do not vanish into the void. They descend into the subconscious, like a whisper into the womb of creation, and there they do not die. They become instruction, blueprint, law. Have you ever fallen asleep in fear, only to wake in confusion or dread, or drifted to sleep worrying about money, love, your worth, then watched life echo those same fears again and again? This is not coincidence. It is the machinery of the universe obeying your inner command. The subconscious does not judge, it does not edit, it accepts. And in the quiet seconds before sleep, when the conscious mind surrenders, the subconscious is listening. It is open, receptive, hungry. Neville Goddard called this sacred interval the gateway of the gods, because in that liminal space, you are no longer the thinker, you are the creator. The world you wake into is not random. It is molded by the last emotion you surrendered to the night before. That emotion becomes your compass, that belief your architect. But most people waste this moment. They fall asleep in despair, in scrolling, in repetition. They feed the night with fear and wonder why the morning offers no peace. But you are beginning to see. This moment before sleep, it is not small, it is not passive, it is the forge of fate. So ask yourself, what are you handing to the night? What emotion are you nesting into the deepest part of you, right before the dream begins? Because whatever you fall asleep with, you fall into. And the universe, in its infinite obedience, will not argue with what you believe to be true in that stillness. Not because it wants you to suffer, but because it trusts your imagination. It trusts what you accept. There is a space within you untouched by the noise of the world. A space before name, before identity, before thought. That space is imagination. Not the kind we were taught to dismiss as children, but the sacred force that forms the bones of the world. Imagination is not escape. It is return to truth, to power, to origin. It is where the invisible becomes form, where the formless begins to shape the visible. And every night before sleep, you enter that sacred room again, but not as a visitor, as a creator. You think your life is built by action, but action only follows what you have already accepted in the quiet workshop of your inner world. Every circumstance, every repetition, every familiar pain, they are echoes of an earlier thought, a feeling rehearsed, a scene imagined. This is why Neville said, imagination is the only redemptive power in the universe. Because once you learn to feel something real in imagination, your body, your mind, and your world must follow. But here's the truth most miss. It is not enough to visualize a thing. You must feel it. You must rest in it. You must fall asleep as if it were already true. Do not chase the vision. Become it. Feel yourself in the life you long for, not reaching, not waiting, but already there. Let your body soften into it. Let your breath slow with it. Let your heart say, yes, this is now. This is mine. This is not lying to yourself. This is spiritual alignment. The body does not know the difference between what is real and what is vividly felt. And the universe does not question what you accept without resistance. So imagine with sacred intention. Feel wealth, not as a fantasy, but as a resting place. Feel love, not as a wish, but as a familiar warmth. Let your imagination be a womb, not a theater. You are not performing. You are gestating a reality. And when you surrender into this state, you become more than a thinker. You become a vessel through which the divine expresses form. What would your life look like if every night you fell asleep already inside the wish fulfilled? What would your reality have no choice but to become? Because the truth is, it already has. You are not waiting on the world to change. You are waiting to remember that you are the one who changes it. Doubt is not the absence of belief. It is belief in the wrong thing. It is a quiet whisper that says, "This won't work for me." A learned hesitation, a shadow formed by years of disappointment and unanswered prayers. And yet, every time you doubt, you still create. Doubt is just negative faith. It is still creation, just misdirected. This is the great turning. When you begin to see that what you fear is still your power at work. You feared the worst and it came. You expected lack and it lingered. You repeated the same story and life played its part. Not because the world is cruel, but because you are that powerful. You are not a victim of circumstance. You are the author in disguise. But to write a new chapter, you must lay the old pen down, the pen of shame, the pen of scarcity, the pen that only writes in loops of almost and not yet. Let it go. Let your doubt die in silence. Don't argue with it. Don't fix it. Don't feed it. Let it pass like fog through the trees. Let it dissolve in the light of your awareness. Because the truth is quiet, but it is steady. And it says, you were never meant to beg for the life you were born to live. The moment you begin to feel the reality of your desire, and I mean truly feel it, a new seed is planted. It does not bloom overnight, but it will bloom, because that's what seeds do when given sunlight and stillness. Faith is not the absence of fear. It is the willingness to feel it and still believe in something greater. Greater than what the world has told you. Greater than your past. Greater than the rules of logic or the limits of statistics. Neville called it living in the end. Not hoping, not wishing, but stepping into the version of you who already lives there. What does she do? How does he move? What does their breath sound like as they drift to sleep, knowing everything is already unfolding? This is not pretending. This is creation. The version of you who already has the thing you seek. That version exists. It is not fiction. It is a frequency. In the moment you align with that frequency, you become it. Not tomorrow, not in a month, now. You do not manifest by waiting. You manifest by remembering, by trusting the unseen more than the evidence of your senses. That is the true rebirth, when you no longer seek proof, because your feeling is the proof. Faith is not blind. It is inward sight, and when doubt dies, your real life begins. The world winds down, the light fades, and as your body begins to surrender, so too does the mask you wore all day. In the quiet of night, the performance ends. You are no longer the job, the role, the unfinished checklist. You are simply awareness, bare, open, listening. Sleep is not a break from life. It is a doorway into creation. Neville knew this. He taught that your last thoughts before sleep are like seeds planted in the rich soil of the subconscious, and in that fertile dark, your imagination becomes the architect of tomorrow. So the question is not, what did you do today? But what did you feel as you closed your eyes? Did you feel lack, regret? Did you replay your fears, one by one, like old records? Or did you slip into the skin of your future self, the one who already has the thing you long for? Because the subconscious does not argue, it accepts. It does not measure time, it responds to being. This is why pretending is not enough. You must embody, you must feel the wish fulfilled, as if it is the only truth that ever was, not as a strategy, but as a surrender. Night is not for fixing, it is for remembering. Remembering who you truly are, a creator, a dreamer, a vessel of divine imagination. Each night, As your eyelids grow heavy, you stand at a holy threshold, and the universe waits, not to test you, but to reflect you. So speak not with words, but with feeling. Lay down not as the one who is waiting, but as the one who already is. Say softly within yourself, I am already living it. I am already free. I am already loved, whole, and complete. Let that be the echo you fall into. Let your breath carry the vibration of arrival. Let your bed become the temple. Let the silence become your prayer. Because when you sleep in the state of the wish fulfilled, you awaken into a world that must conform. Not because the world is magic, but because you are. And the moment you stop treating sleep as an escape and start treating it as sacred, everything changes. You'll notice it in the smallest things first. A coincidence, a smile, a delay that works in your favor. And slowly, gently, the impossible becomes inevitable. Because the universe has no choice but to reflect what you are. And when you sleep as your highest self, you rise into the life that belongs to them. There comes a moment in the journey when longing is no longer enough, when wanting becomes a prison and desire begins to decay into waiting. It is here, in this silent threshold between becoming and being, that the deepest truth reveals itself. You do not manifest what you want. You manifest what you are. Not in theory, not in hopeful affirmations, but in identity, in the quiet tone of your inner state. Most chase their desires like shadows, believing they must become worthy to receive. They pray as beggars. They visualize as strangers to their own dreams. But creation does not bow to effort. It bows to embodiment. To become the one who already has it is to close the gap between yourself and your desire, not by reaching but by remembering that the self who has the thing is not somewhere far away. They are already within you, whispering through the cracks of doubt. This is not about pretending. This is not about acting as if. This is about dying to the self who lacks and awakening as the one who is full. It means you no longer ask, will it come? You ask instead, am I living from the end? You no longer visualize for reassurance. You rest in the knowing that what is yours is already yours in consciousness. You speak not to convince the universe, but to stabilize your own being. You walk differently. You breathe differently because you have chosen to identify not with the absence, but with the presence. This is the true leap, not forward into action, but inward into being. It is the most radical act of creation, to believe before seeing, to embody before receiving, to become in the darkness of the unknown, what you once only dreamed of in the light. Neville called this living in the end, but it is not the end. It is the beginning of a life lived not by force but by faith. Faith not in outcomes but in identity. And here lies the paradox. When you stop reaching, you start receiving. When you stop needing, you start attracting. And when you stop asking, you start becoming. You become a silent current, not chasing the river, but flowing as the river itself. This is not a technique, it is a remembrance. And when you lie down to sleep tonight, let that version of you take the final breath. Let the version who has it all be the one who slips beneath the veil, because the universe cannot resist a soul who knows it already is. And now, beloved soul, you've walked through the storm. You've tasted the silence. You've touched the veil between the seen and unseen. There is nothing left to fix, nothing more to chase. There is only this stillness, this soft, sacred breath before sleep. Let this be your sanctuary, not another night of hoping, but the night you finally remember. You are not waiting on reality. Reality is waiting on you. You are the seed and the sun, the question and the answer. And the world rearranges itself in response to your inner certainty. So as you lay your head down, do not beg the future to be kind. Command it through identity. Sleep as the one who has already arrived. Sleep as the one who is already chosen. Sleep as the one who no longer doubts. Let these words echo in your body, not as empty affirmations, but as declarations of your being. And now, a final mantra, not to fix anything, but to seal your remembrance. Sacred mantra, I am the fulfilled one. I am the end realized. I rest in the truth of who I already am. Repeat this softly, not with effort, but with surrender. I am the fulfilled one. I am the end realized. I rest in the truth of who I already am. Let the rhythm of these words dissolve the walls of your doubt. Let them carry you into the space where all things begin. Because tonight, you do not wait. You do not ask. You do not strive. You remember. And that remembrance reaches into the fabric of reality and rearranges the stars. Sleep well, you beautiful infinite soul. Reality has no choice but to follow.